Welcome to our last From Here to There speaker of this season. We're going to take a few weeks off after this, and we saved the best for last. Pastor and Dr. Rod Collins from Redlands and Yucaipa is here to talk about his life. This is From Here to There, where we talk about how people got from there to here, or from here to there, or from a straight line that is squiggly. And
we get it.
You get it? Okay. Very good. So, should I call you Dr. Collins?
You can call me Rod.
Just Rod. Okay.
Rod will work.
Okay, Rod, let me ask you this. You are both a dentist, and you have a thriving dental practice in Redlands, and you are the founding pastor of Sanctuary Church out in Calamasa, Yucaipa area. Why not be one or the other? What compelled you to be both?
So that's a good question. I'd have to go back to the beginning of when I was a freshman in dental school. When I was a freshman in dental school at 22 at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I felt that the Lord was leading me to be in ministry, and so I became the chaplain of Oral Roberts University Dental School, and I became the director of international missions. And so I took students, teams around the world. So since I was 22, then I started teaching the Bible off the cuff. I never went to seminary, never went to Bible school. I just started teaching for the school. I just became the chaplain. I asked the university president of the school, hey, can I be the chaplain? Can we do devotionals for the dental school? They said yes. So I announced it and we started.
Can I just stop you right there and just, I love these kinds of stories, the initiative that you took. You wanted to do something, and you just found the right person to ask, and you said, can I do this? And they said, I guess so, why not? We don't do that enough, I think. Do you agree? Or?
Yeah, so if you could look at me when I talk. So I will look at you, and I'd like you to look at me. So I know you have other things, so just look at me. So the question was one about initiation. So let me just tell you this. If you want to be successful, either in school or in life, you will need to have massive initiation. You have to take massive initiation in your life, whatever you do. Okay, whatever it is, you got to take initiation. And so I didn't think about it. When I was a student. I just did it. I was thinking, I got to take initiation. I just did it. It's just how I was wired up. So anyway, but I just want to encourage you in school here, you have to take initiation. If you want to excel, if you want to make a difference in your life, you absolutely have to take initiation. So to answer the question, how did I end up as a dentist and starting a church 10 years ago? Well, in school, I did that. And so when I was, so before I graduated, I spoke to the university in front of 5,000 students. I got to speak in chapel. And so it was just something I did. I did dorm retreats and all that. And I started doing missions. Well, then when I came out here, I did residency at Loma Linda University Medical Center, the dental school, and the VA hospital. And I continued. I became a youth pastor. Same thing. I showed up at the church, Calvary Chapel, Redlands, the packing house, and I just asked them, I said, hey, I don't think you have a youth pastor. You want me to do youth? They asked me some questions. I passed the test. They said, sure, you can do it. I'd never done youth in my life. I know the first thing about being a youth pastor. I just started youth, and we went from 0 to about 150 kids in 4 years. And so from there, I went up to Arrowhead, and there I went to another church, and the guy, I'd never been an associate pastor, but I said I could help. And he said, you're hired. I volunteered. I became the associate pastor, came back down to the packing house, and then I continued the journey. I did something called Saturday Night Life, and it was an ecumenical service on Saturday nights. Anyway, then I did that, and then from there, the next step was for me to become a lead pastor. So the point is this, it's all I know my entire life. I don't know anything different. So I'm a lead pastor of a 600-member church, and I actually have 2 dental offices with a staff of 20. So one in Beaumont, a pedo office in Redlands. So it's all that I know. I don't know how to do anything else but what I'm doing, and it's what I've been doing since I was 22. So there you go.
So when I hear you talk about those different stepping stones is maybe the wrong term, but you didn't go from graduating college to running your own church that you planted and 2 dental offices, from 0 to that. There were steps in between. And what I hear, the ingredients of your steps, if I were to summarize this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the ingredients that I hear you talking about are, you figured out what you wanted to do, and then, or even what would get you to what you wanted to do. And then you went and asked someone, can I just start doing this? Would that be helpful? So you figured out what you wanted to do, and you figured out a way to be helpful. And you combined those 2 things, and it gave you experience, a level of experience that got you to this level, that launched you onto the next level, and then you did the same thing. What do I want to do next? How can I be helpful? That got you to the next level. What do I want to do next? How can I be helpful? And got you to the next level. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so here's the point. But again, if you could look at me when I'm talking to you. So I'm here looking at you, you look at me. So here's the point. You have to get clarity with what you want. You have to have absolute clarity. And then what you have to do, the Bible says, despise not the days of small things. Small things. So you have to learn to love the small things. You don't start at the top. So the other thing you have to do is you have to learn to love, watch. I'm going to tell you something that'll help your whole life. You have to learn to love the grind. You have to learn to love to grind it out. And that's why many people, they don't do well in school, or they don't do well at work, or whatever they're doing, because they don't learn to grind. And so it's an old school thing, but I'm just telling you, if you want to, you want to have a great marriage, you want to be a great mother, you want to be great at work, you want to be a great Christ follower, there's part of it, it's not sexy, it's not exciting. You just work, you put on your game face every day, you put on your hard hat, and you go to work and you just grind it out. And so for the journey that he's talked about, much of my journey behind the scenes, if you knew me, I'm just grinding and grinding and grinding. And so what I tell my kids, I have 3 boys, and what I tell others is like, look, you have to learn to love the grind of life. Okay, and so there you got it.
So, I like that. We're going to write that in a banner.
Learn to love the grind.
Love the grind.
And you will be great in life.
Because that puts you head and shoulders above the majority of people who can't love the grind, who just have not learned to love the grind. I mean, you're going to push ahead of them in whatever you're trying to do. Well,
okay, so that's another subject, and that is learn to push ahead of them. So I don't know what you're trying to do, but if you are, I assume you're asking about competing. Is that what you're asking about? Yes. Competing?
Yeah, and I think we can have a philosophical discussion about the value of competition.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it?
So here's the point on competition. Whether it's athletic, whether it's business, whether it's school, and I've spent decades of my life learning how to compete. Here, I did 6 sports. I played football, baseball, basketball, track, wrestling. I did rugby. So I understand about competition. Here's the thing with competition. Here's what you have to do: is you always have to think about this one thing, and that is, how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? How do you differentiate yourself? Because the majority of people are going to be out here, and you have to be thinking, how can I differentiate myself to elevate myself above the competition? What do I have to do that? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Okay. I just want to.
Well, I could. You want more on that? And so there's 4 things. Thank you. There's 4 things which you do. Here's the key. I'm telling you, here's the key. So you have to have desire. You have to have desire. You have to have drive. You have to have determination. And what else do you have to have there? Drive, desire, dedication, and desire. Those things. If you have that, that'll differentiate you from the crowd, and you will be successful at whatever you do.
Say those 4 things again.
Dedication, drive, determination, and desire. And so when I was going through school, I would start to mentor, like when I was like a junior in college, I would start to mentor. I was pre-med. I'd mentor other pre-med students, some that were failing, one that was failing in particular. And so I'd explain to them, look, here's how you do it. And so that's another talk there. But yeah.
You've got 3 boys. You've raised 3 kids, 2 in college, 2 in the professional, or 1 in the professional world now, right?
Well, 2 in the professional world.
2 in the professional, and
Yeah.
you're still going to college.
Yeah.
No? Yeah. Okay. Are all 3 of them just like you? Like they get up in the morning and they look around for what they can conquer and eat?
Well, I don't know that maybe a little bit I'm like that, but no, of course, the Bible says we're fearfully and wonderfully made. That means you're all made differently, and all of you, you're wired up and you're gifted by God, and you have an amazing, gifts, an amazing potential future, and so we're all downloaded with different gifts according to Romans 12, 1 Corinthians 12, in Ephesians 4. So you have all these amazing gifts that God has given you, but my sons have characteristics of me and of course my wife, and maybe their grandparents to varying characteristics. But no, they're different. Everything from extremely driven type to extremely creative and fun and guitar playing and art and all that. So they're all over the board.
I want to go back to when you were talking about the grind. And you've done, by all outward measures, you've done remarkably well with the hills that you've tried to take in your life, with in business and starting a church that is thriving, a community that is cohesive and alive in Sanctuary Church. When you think back to those moments or those times in your life when you felt like you were grinding, and grinding is friction, right? Grinding is not smooth sailing. How would your wife talk about those times?
Well, let me back up a little. So grinding is just accepting. Listen to me. Grinding is accepting your fate in life. Okay, you have certain circumstances, certain situations, a certain job. It's accepting that, but making the most of it. Making the very most of it, doing the very best you can with it, and learning not to complain, never to have a bad attitude, never having a sense of entitlement, but being grateful for what you have and making the most of it and loving that. Okay, so what about crashing or quitting points? Is that what you're asking?
No, those grinding points.
It's not a point. It's a life.
Okay.
It's a life. It's not just a point. It's a life. And part of it is this: you have an attitude that is like this. You have an attitude that says, "This life has been chosen for me, and this life I choose to live. This life has been chosen for me to be a chiropractor, to be a teacher, to be a Bible scholar, whatever. This life's been chosen for me." And you keep getting back to, because what happens is you get clarity. God's chosen me to live this life, but then you have to every day you have to say, "In this life I choose to live. In this life I choose to live with the requirements in this life. I choose to live this life." That you have that attitude. So that's like what loving the grind looks like.
Okay, so let's clarify that, because one might interpret those two things as being different, right? This life was chosen for me versus I choose to live this life.
No, I'm choosing the life. I'm choosing to live the life that was chosen for me. I'm not choosing to live my own life. I'm not choosing to go my own way. I'm not choosing to do my own thing. I'm not choosing a lesser life. I'm choosing the high call of God in Christ Jesus. I'm choosing that life. And so if you choose that life, then you're choosing the life that you sense is pleasing to God. And so part of the reason you come to the school is I would think you have some leanings in that direction, that you want to please God.
I think one of the things that the students that we work with every day, not only that are sitting here, but also the students that come to us as future students that we're recruiting, one of the things that we often find that they struggle with is identifying and clarifying what is the life that I'm supposed to live? What is?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How do I know if I'm supposed to go to this college? How do I know if I'm supposed to start a church? How did you know?
Well, that's a good question. So some of the ways that you lean into this is like this, is like the Bible says, let the peace of God rule in your heart. And so if you're uneasy about something, say you're in a relationship and you're uneasy, you're in a job and you're just uneasy about it, and you have no peace, and it's just like this inward, like, ugh, what am I doing? You know, so if you don't have any peace in your heart, let the peace of God rule, which means to umpire, which means like, yes, you know, strike, do this. And so one of the things you want to lean into are things that, you know, is giving your heart peace in the journey. The other thing, you know, it says in Proverbs to surround yourself with wise counsel. And so you want to get, you know, wise counsel. Get wise people around you that can advise you, you know, like your own advisors. And so, like it says this, it says in Proverbs, it says, the they that walk with wise shall be wise. Watch, but watch. The companion of fools, in other words, listen to me. If you have fools that you're hanging out with, the companion of fools, you will suffer much harm. You're going to suffer if your circle of friends is fools, you are going to suffer like them. When the shrapnel hits them, it's going to bloody your life too. So they that walk with the wise will be wise. You'll be able to have wisdom in your life as you go. So lean into God's peace. Then the other thing is get some wise counsel around you. And the other thing is this, is to get mentors. Get somebody to mentor you. Like find something you're interested in doing and get a mentor that's done it, that's successful at it, and then go after them. You go after them. Okay, so whatever that you want to do, find somebody that's successful at that, and you pursue them. You know, you invite them to Starbucks, you do whatever you have to do, pursue them, and then ask them questions. How did you do it? You know, like I'm being asked questions. So I have mentors today. I meet with mentors, you know, and go to a lot of effort so that I can meet with mentors still today. So anyway, so that's what you want to do. If you do those things, you'll be good.
Wise counsel. So you are a member of the Oak Valley College Advisory Board. You are part of our Wise Counsel. Could I take you back to when you were younger? Let's say high school or college age. What did Wise Counsel look like to you? Who were your mentors? Who were you trying to pursue to learn from?
High school, college?
Yep.
Yeah. So in high school, I wanted to be a dentist. So one of my mentors was Dr. Richard P. Meyer, who was an orthodontist and probably the most successful orthodontist in the area. So I pursued him and I worked for him. I worked for him for 3 years. And so he helped me to, you know, in the journey there. Another one would be I wanted to play football. So I was thinking about playing college football. So my coach was a scout for the University of Southern California Trojans. So I got him to mentor me a bit. For example, like I'm thinking, do I go to college and do I try to play Division I football? Or do I pursue a dental school, like pre-med, pre-dent? So I asked the coach, I said, Coach, what do you think? What do you think if I went to USC? And he told me this. He said, Rod, he said, you could go there. He said, you will never start. You will never start. But you could go and you could play specialty teams. So if you want to go there and you want to, you know, do that, then you can go and you can play football at USC, but you will never be a starter. And I thought, why would I want to go there for 4 years, kill myself, and never like start? So like done with that. That's done and over. So then I just went the pre-med route. So anyway, so those are examples. And then like my other mentor, Dr. Myers, you know, he would just, you know, school me and mentor me and shape, you know, my future by advice. But here's the thing. Here's the most important thing. If you don't listen to anything I say or don't remember anything I say, please remember this. Please remember this. You have to go after the mentor and you have to initiate. They don't come to you. They don't come to you. You have to go after them. So they would love to mentor you. They would love to coach you. They would love to help you. But you have to take the initiation and you have to go after them. It's critical. I still do that to this day. I go after them.
That is super critical. Yeah, so I'm glad you said that and emphasized it. I remember when you started Sanctuary Church, or when you were maybe even 12 months away from starting, and you were talking about it. Honestly, I remember sitting in your dental chair, and you were saying, I'm going to start a church. And I remember thinking, why in the world would you do that? There had to have been some people
Thanks
in
for
your
the
life.
confidence.
There had to have been some people in your life, people that you respected, that were telling you, don't do that. Why didn't you listen to them?
Yeah, so in that case, I had no mentor for being bivocational. I had no mentor for that. I wish I did, but I just didn't know of one. So like one time I was meeting with a doctor in Redlands, and I told him what I wanted to do. I said, hey, I'm going to start a church. And he said, you are crazy. He said, you are absolutely crazy. To which honestly, if you want to, I know it's going to sound arrogant or appear arrogant, but this is how I felt when he said that. I felt like this. I don't care what you think. I could care less what you think. This is what I'm going to do, and it's going to go, and it's going to go well, and it's going to be blessed. And so I could have cared. I could have cared less. I could have cared less what he thought or anyone else. So it's like, I don't have time for you. For you're telling me that I'm crazy. So this is what I'm going to do. And yeah, that's
so
it.
Just in closing, before we open it up to some questions, I think what you're saying is so true, and it's just hard. It's hard to listen to wise counsel who tell you you're not ever going to start on the USC football team, so don't do that, and balance that with not listening to the naysayers who say, no, you're not good enough to do that. No, you're not whatever it is to be able to do that. And then finally listen to what God is telling you to do in your heart.
Yeah, so I think that's rather simple. Here's the point.
I'm glad it's simple for you.
It will be simple for you too. Watch, here's the point. There are people that they deserve the right to speak into your life. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, on certain things. They deserve the right. They have earned the right to speak into your life. There are other people, like the doctor, he was volunteering the information, and he did not have the right to speak into my life. And I did not welcome him. I mean, he's my friend. We're still friends, but it's just, there's certain things I just dismissed it immediately. Didn't even process it for a millisecond. And so it didn't matter to me what he thought. But my coach, he worked with me for years, a couple years, and he deserved the right to speak into my life. And he was speaking the truth, and I knew it was the truth. I could have pursued other options to play, but I just decided that what I decided was this. I thought, here's the course that I feel I'm supposed to set for my life, and that was healthcare, dentist. And so I thought, I can't do that and be a college football player and excel at both. I knew I wasn't a good enough athlete and smart enough to excel at both, but I knew I could excel at one. So I chose to put all my energy, probably 100 hours a week, for 8 years, 100 hours a week for 8 years to pursue, and then I added a 9th year after that to pursue that, and so I could excel at one thing. Yeah, you can't, and here's the point. You can't necessarily be great at a lot of things, but you can be if you put all your energy and effort to it, and God blesses you and has gifted you. You can be great. You can be great at something you pursue.
Any questions for Dr. Collins? Alex?
Yeah. What, I guess, led you or pushed you then to take up 2 vocations?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Honestly, I don't even think of it as 2 vocations. I don't really think that way. Although, yes, I live in 2 worlds, but the way I think of it is like, this is my life. This is all I've ever done, and I love my life, and so I love it. Is it hard? Yes. You know, I think anything that's worthy of pursuing, you know, it's hard, but I never really, you know, I never looked at it as one or the other. It was always both, and from the beginning, like I said, when I started off as a chaplain in dental school, that's how I started. So I've really never been on any other road than that. And the thing that people don't understand, like they'll say, oh, you know, like in church world, they say, oh, you know, like we heard like you're like a dentist, and they're shocked. Or then in dental world, they'll say, you know, we heard like you're like a minister of like you're a pastor. Yeah, the thing they don't understand is like I've done both those things my entire life. I didn't wake up one day and go, you know, I think I'll go into the ministry. It's like since I was 22, you know, since I was sitting at these tables, that's what I chose to do, and that's what I've been doing my whole life. So I never, like, you know, at some point after that decided to do one or the other. I just done that the entire time. So.
If you had to go back in time and redo it, would you do it differently or the same?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Would I do it differently? The thing I would have done differently is I would have started a church sooner. I would have done the lead. I think I waited too long to do that. I would have done that sooner. I would have pulled the trigger sooner than I did if I had it to do over again. Yeah. So I spent 20 years with 3 churches and 3 pastors as a lead, as a number two guy, 20 years. And so for 20 years, I just observed and I watched, and I learned everything I could. I was taking mental notes like all the time. Don't do that, absolutely don't do that, but do that. And so I was learning there. So I had a 20-year internship. I didn't need 20. I think I could have done it a little sooner, maybe after 15 years. So I would have done it. I would have pulled the trigger a little sooner. Yeah.
All right. Dr. Collins, thank
Thank
you
you
for being here so much.
Thank you, everybody. Blessings to you.